Dante opened the SUV door and I climbed in. Patricia sat across from me, mascara smeared, her phone clenched in a death grip. She looked like she wanted to crawl out of her own skin. The guard slid into the driver's seat. Dante took the passenger seat. He didn't look back at us. He didn't need to. His presence filled the vehicle like an electric storm. "Drive," he commanded. The SUV surged forward, tires screeching as we shot up the ramp. We burst onto a deserted service road behind the restaurant, weaving between dumpsters and delivery trucks. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Police, too late, always too late. Patricia wiped her eyes. "Dante, baby, I was scared. You have to believe me." "Shut up," Dante said. The words were quiet, razor sharp. Patricia flinched like he'd slapped her. He didn't turn around, didn't raise his voice. But somehow, the softness made it worse, much worse. Dante tapped his phone. A location flashed on the dashboard screen. A hotel. An expensive one. The Plaza. Patricia's breath hitched. "Why are we going there?" Dante finally looked at her through the rearview mirror. "To meet the person you were talking to." Color drained from her face. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. And I saw it, right there, the truth. Whatever she thought she was doing, whatever deal she thought she had, she was caught. And we were going straight toward the fire. The SUV slid to a stop under the glowing awning of the plaza's private entrance. A valet stepped forward, but one look at Dante, and he stepped back just as fast. Security guards at the door stiffened. Dante stepped out first. Patricia followed, shaking. The moment my feet hit the ground, I felt it, the heaviness, the shift in the air. Something was wrong inside, very wrong. Dante took Patricia's arm, not roughly, but with purpose, steering her toward the elevators. The guard bracketed me on the other side, making sure I stayed close. We stepped into the mirrored elevator. Dante hit the button for the top suite. As the doors slid shut, Patricia whispered, "Dante, please don't do this." He didn't look at her. "Tell me the truth," he said. "And I won't." Her breath shook. I only talked to him because I wanted out. I didn't want you hurt." The elevator dinged. The doors opened. And standing in the presidential suite hallway was Alexei Vulov, the Russian mob boss, smiling, waiting, not surrounded by guards, not in an ambush stance, just standing there, hands in his pockets, like he'd been expecting us. Patricia made a tiny choking noise. Dante stepped forward, slow, deliberate. "Alexei." "Dante." The two men stared at each other in charged silence. Then Vulov's gaze slid to me, his smile widened, and something cold rolled down my spine. "Well," he said, voice silky. "The waitress, the one who isn't supposed to exist." Dante stiffened. Vulov's eyes gleamed. "You should have stayed in the bathroom longer, little girl. Your timing ruined everything." My heart dropped. Patricia's knees nearly buckled. And for the first time all night, Dante's mask cracked. Just a fraction. Just enough to reveal a flash of something raw, something dangerous, something entirely unrestrained beneath the surface. Then Dante spoke, but not to Alexei, not to Patricia. To me. "Stay behind me." The elevator doors slid closed behind us with a soft, final hiss, and my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. Dante turned his head. "You're not going to answer that." But I already saw the preview notification on the screen. "Detective Sarah Ramos, NYPD. Vicky, this is urgent. The shooting tonight connects to you. This is not optional. You need to come in, now." My stomach dropped. The world tilted. Because at the very moment I stood between the Mafia and the Russians, the police were coming for me too. And that so was the twist that changed everything. The notification pulsed on my lock screen like a heartbeat. "Detective Sarah Ramos, NYPD. This is not optional. Come in now." My fingers shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. Vulov's eyes flicked toward the vibration. "Busy evening?" he murmured. Dante stepped slightly to the side, blocking Vulov's view of me. "You don't speak to her," Vulov chuckled. "You brought your witness to a negotiation. That's adorable." Patricia flinched at the word witness. Dante's guard shifted his stance, ready to shoot at the slightest command. The hallway hummed with tension, low, electric, murderous. But Dante wasn't looking at Vulov anymore. He was looking at me, specifically. At the phone I was clutching like a lifeline. "Who texted you?" he asked. I swallowed. "NYPD. Patricia gasped. "You called the police?" "No," I snapped. "I didn't call anyone." Vulov raised a brow. "Ah, they already know. Interesting." Dante's gaze sharpened. "What did the message say?" "That I need to come in, that it's not optional." He stared at me for a long, heavy second. Then his voice dropped into something low. Something dangerous. "Give me the phone?" I didn't move. Vulov smirked. "She shouldn't." Dante's eyes slid toward him, ice cold. "You're still breathing because I'm letting you finish your sentence. Don't push me." Vulov fell silent. I handed the phone over. Dante read the message, his expression hardening with every word. Then he slid the phone into his jacket. "You're not talking to the NYPD alone," he said. Patricia scoffed. "She's a waitress, Dante. They're not after her. They're after you." Vulov laughed outright. "Oh no, Patricia, they're after her." My stomach twisted. "What?" Vulov's eyes gleamed with something vile. "You were the only civilian who wasn't supposed to be involved. The moment you interfered, you became leverage. Police love leverage," Dante snapped. "Vicky is under my protection." Vulov smirked. "And the police don't care." A muscle in Dante's jaw flexed. And that was the moment I understood something. The NYPD wasn't a shield. They were a blade, and someone had just pointed me onto the tip of it. Before I could respond, 3 of Dante's men materialized at the far end of the hall, silent, deadly, appearing like shadows. "Boss," one said. "Safe route secured. Elevator 2 is clear." Dante nodded once. "Take Patricia out the side entrance. Do not let her out of your sight." Patricia's head snapped up. "Wait, what? Dante, where are you going?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. His silence told her everything. She wasn't the priority anymore. I was. Patricia lunged toward him. "I didn't betray you. I swear I didn't. Just tell me what to do. Tell me." Dante stepped back without touching her. "Go," he said to the guards, cold and final. They dragged Patricia away, her heels scraping across the polished floor. Her screams echoed down the hall, and then silence swallowed everything. The guard who stayed behind tipped his head toward me. "We have 2 minutes before the next sweep, boss." Dante looked at me. Really looked. At my shaking hands. At my uneven breath. At the terror I was trying and failing to hide. "We're taking you to Ramos," he said. My chest tightened. "Why?" "Because if the police think you're running, they'll assume guilt. If the Russians think you're cooperating, they'll kill you. We handle this now." My voice cracked. "What if they arrest me?" "They won't." "How do you know?" He started walking toward the elevator. "Because I'll be in the room." My feet wouldn't move. "I can't face the NYPD with you," I whispered. They'll think," he cut in, "that you're under my protection." Which is exactly what you want them to think. "No, it's not." His eyes narrowed. "What do you want them to think, Vicky?" I inhaled sharply. "I want them to think I'm innocent." His expression didn't change, but his voice softened, just barely. "Then don't lie, don't hide, don't run. You walk in there with your head up and let Ramos blame me instead." My pulse thudded. "Blame you?" "I've been the villain before," he said. "I can take it." I stared at him, a man who had walked through bullets, betrayal, rooftop kill teams, and now was choosing to walk into an NYPD interrogation just to stand beside a waitress he shouldn't even remember the name of. "Why are you doing this?" I whispered. His eyes darkened. "Because you warned me, and I protect the people who protect me." My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say, but it didn't matter. The elevator dinged. "It's time," Dante said. And just like that, we stepped out into the suite lobby, straight into a wall of NYPD officers. "Dante Russo? Hands where we can see them. Identify yourselves. Freeze!" Guns raised. Vests, flashlights slicing the air. Dante didn't flinch. He lifted his hands slowly, deliberately, the picture of lethal calm disguised as compliance. "Detective Ramos is expecting us," he said. An officer grabbed my wrist. "Vicky Alvarez, you're coming with us." My heart seized. And the last thing I saw before they dragged me down the hall Was Dante turning his head slightly, just enough to say without words, "I'll get you out"? Everything blurred, the ride in the police cruiser, the buzzing fluorescent lights, the cold metal chair, the observation window reflecting my own terrified face. Then the door opened. Detective Sarah Ramos entered. Tall, rigid, eyes sharp enough to cut steel. She dropped a folder on the table. It landed with a heavy slap. She sat. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. "Vicky," she said. "Do you know why you're here?" My voice shook. "Because of the shooting." "Wrong." She opened the folder, and inside were crime scene photos, restaurant angles, shell casings, a printed copy of my note. Beside it, a photo of Jake, alive, safe, terrified. "Someone sent this to my department anonymously," Ramos said, "which means someone is trying to throw you under a bus." No. My chest seized. But then her eyes met mine, and for the first time, they softened. "Vicky, I'm not your enemy," she said, "but you need to tell me what happened." "All of it." I opened my mouth, and Dante walked into the room. No knocking, no permission, just walked in like he owned the building. 2 officers tried to stop him, but he brushed past them like air. "Ms. Alvarez is not answering anything," he said, without her attorney present. Ramos stood. "This is an active homicide investigation. You don't get to waltz in here." "I just did," Dante said. His lawyer stepped in behind him, impeccably dressed, briefcase in hand. "Detective Ramos," the lawyer said. "Let's talk." Ramos clenched her jaw. For a moment, I thought the world might explode again. Then Ramos pointed at Dante. "You," she said, "are obstructing justice." He didn't even blink. "You're welcome." The lawyer leaned close to Ramos, lowering his voice. "If you push too hard, you'll spook Russians, escalate a turf war, and lose jurisdiction. You want answers? We'll give them to you, off the record. No arrest, no statements signed." Ramos exhaled sharply. "Fine," she snapped. 5 minutes. She left the room. The officers followed. The door slammed shut, and Dante finally looked at me. Not like a mob boss, not like a man accustomed to violence and power, but like someone worried. "You okay?" he asked softly. My breath broke. "No." He moved closer, and for the first time all night, I didn't step back. Dante didn't touch me. He didn't have to. Just standing close enough that his presence filled the interrogation room, was enough to make the walls feel smaller, the lights dimmer, the air tighter. The moment the door clicked shut behind Ramos, Dante lowered himself into the chair beside me. Not across from me, not opposite, beside me. Like we were a team, like he already decided which side of this war I belonged to. His lawyer set down a thick folder. "We need to move quickly," he murmured. "The Russians already know she survived. Vulov isn't going to wait long." My stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" Dante answered without looking away from me. "It means the moment they realize you're talking to police, even indirectly, they'll retaliate." I swallowed hard. "Against who?" Dante paused. Then, "Us." For a few seconds, there was nothing but the hum of the fluorescent lights and the faint muffled voices of officers outside the door. Dante tapped his knuckles once, lightly, on the metal table. It was barely audible, but it sent heat up my spine. It was a signal. One his guard understood instantly. The guard, still positioned by the door, nodded once and slipped out through the back exit of the observation area. "What was that?" I whispered. "A precaution," Dante said. "For what?" He answered by sliding a small black device onto the table, a sleek jammer that immediately distorted the ambient static in the room. "They've been listening to us," he said quietly. "Ramos isn't working alone." The words lodged in my chest like a stone. "What do you mean, listening?" I whispered. His voice stayed calm, controlled. "The Russians have police in their pocket." My pulse convulsed. "And one of them just flagged your file." I grabbed the edge of the table. No, this isn't happening. I didn't do anything." Dante leaned in, voice low enough that only I heard it. "You did something," he said. "You saved my life." He sat back, eyes locked on mine. "And that makes you a threat to the people who wanted me dead." The back door opened again. Dante's guard slipped in quietly, but his expression wasn't the composed, lethal calm he usually carried. It was something else, something grim. "Boss," he said, lowering his voice. "You need to step outside, now." Dante didn't move. "Say it." The guard hesitated. Then, "We've got Vulov." My breath stopped. Dante's eyes sharpened like glass catching fire. "Where?" "In transit," the guard replied. "Your men pulled him out of the Plaza Service elevator before NYPD could secure the floor." I stared at him. "You captured him?" Dante finally rose to his feet, slow, fluid, a storm waiting to break. "I wasn't going to let him walk out," he said. "Not after what he said to you." My heart slammed. "To me? You didn't have to." "Yes," he cut in quietly. "I did." He turned toward the door. "Bring him to Safe House 3. The guard nodded. Then Dante looked at me, not with suspicion, not with calculating interest, but with something else, something frighteningly close to concern. "You're coming too," he said. I blinked. "Me? Why?" "Because you need to hear what he has to say." The door opened. Detective Ramos walked back in, and everything exploded. Ramos stopped short when she saw Dante standing. "You're not leaving," she said. "We're not finished." Dante didn't even turn. "You've had enough." "The hell I have," she snapped, stepping in front of him. "I have the only witness to a federal-level assassination attempt. She's not going anywhere." "She's already been targeted 3 times tonight," Dante said. "Because of your department's incompetence." Ramos bristled. "Say that again." Dante stepped into her space. "I said," he murmured, "your department can't protect a stray cat, let alone Vicky." My breath caught. Detective Ramos's face flushed with anger. "Is that a threat?" she hissed. "It's a fact." Ramos leaned forward. "She's a waitress. Why the hell do the Russians care about her?" Dante's eyes flicked to me. He didn't answer, not until the silence turned into a blade. "She knows something," he said quietly, "something they can't afford to let survive." Ramos whipped her head toward me, eyes widening. "What do you know?" I opened my mouth, but Dante lifted a hand. "Enough." Ramos slammed her fist onto the table. "I swear, if you don't let me question her." "You won't get the chance," Dante said. The room fell still. Ramos stiffened. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dante replied, "Vicky is leaving with me." And that's when Ramos reached for her gun. Ramos's fingers brushed the grip. Dante's guard's gun was out first. Mine wasn't even drawn. And Dante? Dante didn't flinch. He didn't move. He only stared at Ramos like she was a child swinging a toy sword. "If you pull that trigger," Dante said calmly, "my men upstairs will erase everyone in this building." Ramos froze. The tension snapped like an electric wire, and then Dante stepped forward, one smooth, fluid motion, and gently pushed her hand away from her holster. "You're done here," he said softly. Ramos trembled, not with fear, with rage. "This isn't over." "No," Dante said, "it isn't." He opened the door and looked at me. "Let's go." I hesitated. One step, just one. Because this, leaving the NYPD, following the Mafia boss, the man the Russians wanted dead, this was crossing a line I couldn't come back from. Dante held out a hand. "Vicky." My heart hammered. "Trust me," he said. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I did. I placed my hand in his and walked straight out of the interrogation room, straight into the war. The guard led us through a back corridor toward the underground parking exit. The moment the door opened, I saw it. A black SUV. Doors open, men standing guard, and inside, in the back seat, Alexei Vulov, bound, bruised, smiling with bloody teeth. "Oh," he purred, eyes landing right on me. "The waitress joins the party." I froze. Dante stepped in front of me, then opened the SUV door wider. "Start talking, Alexei," he said. "Tell her why you wanted her dead." My heart stopped. Alexei's eyes gleamed. With pleasure. Alexei Vulov lifted his bruised face just enough for the car's interior light to catch the crimson smear across his jaw. His smile stretched slowly, too calm, too deliberate, too confident for a man bound and surrounded. He wasn't scared. That terrified me more than the guns. "Vicky," he said slowly, tasting my name like poison and amusement mixed together. "The girl who ruined $1 million operation with a single note." I froze. Dante's hand brushed my arm, not soft, not comforting, just grounding. Talk, Dante ordered. Alexei chuckled. You think I answer to you, Russo? Dante leaned closer. Tonight you do. For the first time, Alexei's smile thinned. Not fear, recognition, the understanding that Dante wasn't bluffing. He exhaled, a sharp hiss through blood. Fine, since she's here, she should know. He looked right at me. And the world tilted. Alexei spoke softly, as though telling a bedtime story. The girl in the bathroom, your boss's pretty little doll. His eyes shifted toward Dante. She was supposed to be a quiet, loose end. Nothing more. Patricia. My breath tightened. You weren't supposed to hear her, Alexei went on. She was told to go in, make the call, walk out. Simple. Dante's jaw clenched. She made a deal with you. Alexei laughed. A deal? No, a plea. Patricia wanted out, wanted protection. And she agreed to give us what we needed for her freedom. My stomach dropped. Patricia wasn't coerced. She volunteered. For what? I asked, voice barely a whisper. Alexei's eyes glittered. For you. I blinked. What? For people like you, Alexei said. Invisible, overworked, underpaid, the kind of girl no one listens to. No one believes. A chill crawled up my spine. You were the leverage, he said. The unpredictable variable, the one who saw too much. Dante stiffened. She wasn't in the plan. Oh, but she was, Alexei said. She became part of it the moment Patricia told us about Dante's obsession. My blood iced. What obsession? Dante growled. Alexei smiled. Her. The word exploded between us. My knees almost buckled. Dante's breath stilled. Alexei leaned forward as much as his restraints allowed. She told us you watched her, Russo. Knew her name. Covered her shift's payroll when she was late. Sent someone to tail her when she walked home alone. I stared at Dante. My pulse thundered. He didn't speak. Not a denial, not a confirmation. Nothing. Alexei's smile widened. So we used it. Used me? Used Dante's attention? My head swirled. You were the perfect trigger, Alexei continued. A scared little waitress who wasn't supposed to matter. Someone who would panic if she heard whispers. Someone who would act. Someone who would deliver Dante the message we wanted him to see. My voice cracked. Wait. You wanted me to warn him? Alexei's grin was pure malice. Oh yes, we planned that panic. That note. That chaos. My stomach twisted violently. No, I whispered. No, I wasn't. I wasn't supposed to be. You were the fuse, Alexei said. The human spark to make the explosion happen. The room spun. You weren't meant to survive, he explained. Once you wrote that note, our rooftop teams had orders to eliminate everyone at the table, including you. The perfect tragedy to pin on a rival. A sickening weight dropped into my chest. I wasn't just collateral. I was the chess piece. The bait. That's enough, Dante said. Quiet. Lethal. Alexei chuckled. Touching. He doesn't want you to hear the truth. Turn him around, Dante ordered the guard. The guard seized Alexei's jacket, but Alexei whipped his head toward me. Do you know, he hissed. Why didn't we go after your brother first? My blood froze. Dante lunged faster than I'd ever seen him move, but Alexei shouted before he could be silenced. Because we thought you were alone. Dante slammed a hand over Alexei's mouth. Too late. The damage was done. My vision blurred. My breath shattered. My chest seized. You thought I lived alone, I whispered. Alexei's muffled laugh vibrated beneath Dante's palm. Dante ripped his hand back and leaned close. His voice was a low, murderous whisper. You're done. Alexei's smirk faltered. Just a little. Just enough. After everything, Dante said, you still don't understand the difference between bait and shield. He glanced back at me. My hands were shaking. You used her to get to me, Dante said. And now you'll tell her why. Alexei's smile returned, smaller this time, meaner. You, he said to Dante, were becoming a problem. Too much control. Too many alliances. Too clean. You forget. This city needs monsters, not kings. He tilted his head toward me. She made you human. My breath caught. Dante stiffened. And Alexei smiled wider. That was your weakness. That is why we moved tonight. The Bratva doesn't want you dead. His voice darkened. They want you broken. The silence hit like another sniper bullet. Every breath in the SUV felt loud. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Dante didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Alexei whispered the final knife. And the fastest way to break a man like Dante Russo is to kill the girl he can't stop looking at. The world went still, absolutely still. The guard froze. I felt my blood drain. Alexei leaned back, satisfied, and Dante's expression changed. Not shock, not fear. Something scarier, something that made the hair on my arms lift. Something like violence dipped in ice. He reached for the SUV door handle with perfect calm. "Get him out," Dante said. "We're finishing this." "Where?" the guard asked. Dante's eyes didn't leave mine. "Someplace quiet." Alexei's smirk faltered. But Dante wasn't watching him anymore. He was watching me. Like Alexei's words had detonated something he'd kept buried, something he could no longer hide behind silence. "Vicky," Dante said, voice low, resonant, unshakably certain. "You're not leaving my side," I swallowed. "You're part of this now." And somehow the terrifying part wasn't that he said it. It was that a part of me, a small, trembling, impossible part, believed him. The moment Dante said, "You're not leaving my side," the SUV turned cold. Not from fear, from inevitability. Like everyone in that vehicle, me, the guard, even Alexei, suddenly understood we'd crossed a line that didn't have a return route. Dante stepped back from the open door, jaw tight, gaze locked on mine. Not possessive, not romantic, protective. Like he'd already made a decision that would cost him blood. A quiet decision, a lethal one. Alexei shifted in his restraints, trying to mask the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "You think keeping her close will save her?" he hissed. Dante didn't answer. He simply nodded to the guard. "Move him." The guard yanked Alexei from the SUV. The Russian mob boss stumbled, bound hands scraping asphalt. His breath hissed through his teeth as Dante turned to me. "Stay behind me." My legs were shaking, but I nodded. We were in a private underground garage, empty except for Dante's SUVs, and a single steel door marked "Authorized personnel only." It wasn't a parking lot. It was an execution room waiting for a command, Alexei noticed, and he laughed. "So this is where the mighty Dante brings his problems." Dante didn't look at him. "This is where I end them." The guard shoved Alexei through the steel door. It opened into an old maintenance corridor, high ceilings, exposed pipes, concrete walls painted decades ago. The air smelled like dust and gun oil. A dead-end hall. A perfect place to interrogate or bury a secret. Dante stepped inside, and I followed. Alexei stumbled until he hit the far wall, panting through the pain in his ribs. Dante's men spread out, blocking escape on all sides. Alexei lifted his chin. "You won't kill me," he spat. "You need me alive. You think I planned this alone?" Dante unsheathed a blade from his jacket. A small one, elegant, perfectly balanced, not flashy. A silence fell over the corridor. Alexei swallowed. "You kill me," he rasped. "And the Bratva will take your city. They'll take everything." Dante stepped closer. "They already tried," he said. "And they failed." Alexei's eyes darted toward me. "You'll lose her," he hissed. "People like her don't survive in your world." Dante's jaw tightened, just slightly. I felt it. A shift. A flicker of something raw. Alexei saw it too. And he pressed harder. "You can't protect her from us. You can't protect her from the police. You can't protect her from the fire you lit the moment you looked at her like she meant something." The knife flashed. Not to cut him, to silence him. Dante pressed the blade against Alexei's throat. A thin line of blood welled beneath the steel. The Russian boss froze. Finally, Dante leaned in slowly. "So talk," he said softly. "Tell me who ordered the hit." Alexei wet his lips. "You won't like the answer. Try me." "The contract wasn't only on you," Alexei whispered. "It was on her, too." My breath stopped. Dante's didn't. He didn't react with shock. He reacted with something far, far worse. He reacted like he'd expected it. Alexei chuckled weakly. "She doesn't know, does she?" Dante's shoulder twitched. Barely. Alexei smirked wider. "Oh, She has no idea. I stepped forward despite the guard's attempt to block me. Why? I demanded. Why would anyone put a hit on me? I'm nobody. Alexei's smile was a razor. No one is nobody, he whispered, if they hear the wrong thing. I shook my head. I heard a bathroom call. That's it. That's not what I'm talking about, Alexei cut in. My heart pounded. What then? Ask him, Alexei said. He nodded at Dante. Dante didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. A cold weight formed in my stomach. Dante, I whispered. What is he talking about? Dante didn't answer. Alexei laughed, delighted by the tension. She doesn't know, Alexei murmured. She doesn't know who else wants her gone. My pulse spiked. Who? I demanded. Alexei leaned closer, too close, blood dripping from his mouth as he whispered. The same people who ordered the hit 6 months ago. Silence hit the corridor like a gunshot. 6 months ago? I wasn't involved in anything 6 months ago, I whispered. Nothing happened. Nothing. Alexei cut me off. You were the only witness to something you didn't even realize you witnessed. My breath caught. I shook my head. No, I whispered. You're lying. Alexei smiled. It was the kind of smile that lived in nightmares. You were in the wrong hallway, wrong building, wrong time. You walked past a door you weren't supposed to. And someone saw you. Dante's grip tightened on the knife. Alexei chuckled. Tell her, Russo. Tell her who she is to the Bratva. Dante finally spoke. His voice was quiet. Dead quiet. She's the girl who saw them kill a federal informant. My world tore open. What? I breathed. Alexei nodded. You were delivering takeout. March. A rainy Thursday. You went to the wrong floor. A memory flickered. Dim hallway lights. Wet shoes from the rain. A door slightly ajar. Murmured voices. A thud. I'd brushed it off, forgotten it. Buried it under the weight of survival. Alexei continued. You didn't know what you saw, but you saw enough. The corridor tilted. The Bratva doesn't leave witnesses, Alexei said. Even stupid accidental ones. My knees buckled. Dante grabbed my arm before I hit the floor, and Alexei smiled at it. At him touching me, at me needing him. See, Alexei whispered. This is why they want her dead. This is why we moved on you tonight. This is why she was part of the plan. Dante stepped back, eyes burning. And then, Alexei said the final spark. She's the reason the Russians want war. Dante's expression changed. I'd seen him angry, cold, calculating. I had not seen this. This was something else entirely. A controlled detonation behind his eyes. The air in the corridor crackled. Alexei swallowed. Dante, wait. Dante didn't wait. He didn't hesitate. He drove the blade into Alexei's thigh, not to kill him, but to pin him to the wall. Alexei screamed. The guard forced him still. Dante leaned in, whispering, You should have stayed quiet. Alexei spat blood. You can't stop the order. Dante pressed harder on the blade. Watch me. He tore the knife free and stepped back. Gag him, Dante commanded. Take him to lockdown cell 5. No one touches him until I say so. The guard nodded and dragged Alexei away, still screaming behind the gag. Dante turned to me. I was shaking, barely standing. Everything I thought I knew about tonight, about my life, had been torn apart. Dante stepped closer. Vicky? Soft, controlled, terrifying. You're done running. I looked up, tears burning. You can't decide that for me. I'm not deciding for you, he said. I'm telling you the truth. He reached out, hesitated for the first time all night, then gently placed his hand on my cheek. You're in this war because of something you didn't even know you saw. You were marked long before tonight. You didn't choose any of this. His voice dropped to a whisper. But you're not facing it alone now. My breath broke. He continued. You saved my life. Now I'm saving yours. And in that dark, cold, concrete hallway, for the first time since the gunshots, the rooftop snipers, the elevator, the betrayal, I believed him. The corridor held its breath even after Alexei's screams faded into muffled echoes. It felt like the whole building, the whole night, was waiting to see what Dante would do next. But he didn't bark another order. He didn't go after another enemy. He didn't reach for a gun or a blade or command his men. He looked at me, as if I was the thing that mattered most in the room. His hand still cupped my cheek, warm, steady, grounding me when nothing else could. But when he realized how close we were, how violently I was trembling, he let his hand fall. Not because he didn't want to touch me, but because he didn't trust himself if he kept holding me. He took a slow breath, gaze steady on mine. "We're leaving," he said. Not an order, a promise. Dante guided me through the old maintenance corridor, his pace slow, matching my unsteady steps. Every few seconds, he flicked his eyes toward the shadows, scanning for threats. Not paranoid, prepared. I wrapped my arms around myself. My lungs still felt tight from hearing Alexi's words, from remembering that hallway, from realizing this nightmare didn't start tonight. It started months ago. I couldn't get rid of the image. A door slightly ajar, a shadow falling, a body hitting the ground, and me, walking away, completely unaware that someone inside had looked up, had seen me, had marked me. Dante unlocked a secured steel door and held it open for me. "Watch your step." His voice was low, rougher than before, not from anger, from worry. We stepped into a private elevator with mirrored walls. The door slid shut, and for the first time, there was silence between us. A heavy, charged silence. I stared at my reflection, makeup smeared, hair wild, eyes swollen from panic. A girl who didn't belong in mob wars, underground cells, interrogation rooms, or hit lists. A girl who was supposed to be invisible. Dante watched me, arms at his sides, fists curled, not in anger, but like he was holding himself back. Finally, I whispered the question that had been clawing at me since the SUV. "Did you know?" His brows lowered slightly. "Know what?" "That I was marked, months ago." He exhaled through his nose. "I suspected." My throat tightened. "Suspected? When?" He didn't look away. "The night I first saw you at the restaurant." My breath caught. "You didn't even know me then." He nodded once. "Correct. You didn't know my name. I learned it. And you didn't even speak to me." He stared at the elevator doors, cold, calm. "You don't need to speak to someone to know they're in danger." I swallowed. "Why didn't you tell me?" His jaw flexed. "Because I didn't know if I was right. And if I was wrong, if I told you someone wanted you dead when they didn't, you'd live terrified for no reason. And if you were right," I whispered. He finally looked at me. Those dark eyes held something I hadn't seen before. Regret. "Then you'd hate me for not telling you sooner." I felt my chest tighten, because he was right. And because I didn't hate him. I was scared, confused, overwhelmed, but I didn't hate him. The elevator opened onto a rooftop, private, empty, hidden by high concrete walls. A helicopter waited on the far end, blades still idle, a thin layer of frost glittering on the metal. Dante's men were posted at all corners. When they saw him emerge with me, they straightened. Not like guards, like soldiers preparing for war. One stepped forward. "Boss, everything's ready." "Good," Dante said. "We're leaving the city." My heart jumped. "Leaving?" Dante turned to me. "They found you once. They won't get a second chance." I shook my head. "My job, my apartment. I can't just leave everything behind." He stepped closer. "Those things won't matter if you're dead." I flinched. He knew it. And his voice softened, just by a fraction. "This isn't forever," he said. "It's until I handle the ones who want you gone." I swallowed. "And if you can't?" He didn't blink. "I can." A cold wind swept across the rooftop, making me wrap my arms around myself. Dante shrugged off his jacket and placed it over my shoulders. I froze. This wasn't Mafia boss behavior. This wasn't dominance or intimidation. It was something else, something warm, foreign, dangerous in a different way. "Dante," I whispered, unable to read him. He stepped back just enough to give me space, but not enough to feel distant. "Vicky," he said quietly, "I know you're overwhelmed and scared. You should be, but right now, you need to trust me." I looked up at him, at the man who terrified half the city, at the man who had just stabbed Alexei without blinking, at the man who had dragged me out of the NYPD because he didn't believe they could protect me, at the man who had known, suspected, for months that someone wanted me dead, At the man who gave me his jacket when the wind hit. I whispered, "Why are you doing this?" He didn't hesitate. "Because if anything happens to you," he said softly, "I won't survive it." The wind stilled. The rooftop fell silent. I felt a slow, consuming heat rise in my chest, fear and something else mixing in ways I wasn't ready for. The helicopter blades began to spin. Dante offered his hand. "Come with me." I stared at it. My life divided itself into two paths. Go back downstairs, try to return to normal, wait for the Russians to find me again, or take his hand, step into a war, trust the one man who had pulled me through every nightmare tonight. My fingers trembled. Then slowly, I placed my hand in his. Dante exhaled, not out of relief, out of certainty. He guided me toward the helicopter, and just before we stepped inside, he leaned close enough for his breath to warm my ear. "Vicky," he murmured, "you're safe with me." I believed him. For now, for tonight, for whatever came next. The helicopter lifted into the night, slicing through the dark with a bone-deep hum that vibrated through the cabin. The city lights fell away beneath us, glittering, distant, unreal. For the first time since the bathroom, the snipers, the note, the police station, I could breathe. Barely. Dante sat across from me, elbows on his knees, hands clasped, not in command, not calculating, just watching me, studying me, as if confirming I was still here, still alive, still his responsibility. A blanket lay over my shoulders, warm, heavy, smelling faintly of cedar and spice. One of the guards must have draped it on me when I wasn't looking, but I kept my eyes on Dante, because the fear hadn't faded. Not really, it had only changed shape. Now it wasn't fear of dying, it was fear of what came next. For a long stretch of minutes, neither of us spoke. The chopper hummed. The city shrank. The clouds swallowed us. Then Dante leaned forward. "Talk to me," I swallowed hard. I don't know where to start. Start anywhere," my voice trembled. "I just watched you put a knife in someone. You also watched him admit he wanted you dead." He said it quietly, not defensively, just as a fact. "But I'm not built for this," I whispered. "Not for running from hitmen, not for interrogation rooms, not for hiding in helicopters. I'm not—" "You're stronger than you think." I shook my head. "Dante, you are." He said it like a verdict. Final, unarguable. "You wrote that note knowing it could get you killed." My breath hitched. "You face snipers with nothing but a piece of paper and instinct." He leaned closer. "No one gets through what you survived tonight and calls themselves weak." I looked down at my hands, bruised, cold, still shaking. "But I'm just a waitress," I whispered. He shook his head slowly. "No, not anymore." His words sank into me like a new truth trying to take root. The helicopter descended into pitch darkness, a clearing surrounded by towering trees and rocky shadow. Dante stood first. He didn't offer his hand. He just waited. Like he wanted me to decide how close we should be now. I walked toward him. He exhaled softly, so subtle I might have imagined it, and placed a hand at the small of my back to guide me toward a narrow path. The safe house emerged from the darkness like a secret carved into the mountainside. Glass, stone, silent, hidden. No lights, no neighbors, no roads, just isolation and safety. The guards fanned out without a sound. Dante opened the door for me. Warm light flickered from a fireplace. Soft shadows danced over wooden beams and leather furniture. It wasn't a hideout. It was a sanctuary. A place only someone like Dante would build, for someone he didn't want the world to touch. "You'll stay here tonight," he said quietly. "There's no safer place." I turned. "Where will you be?" He hesitated. Then, "Nearby." It wasn't the answer. Not really, but it was honest. The fire crackled softly as I walked deeper into the room. I touched the back of the couch for balance. My breath stuttered. Everything finally hit me at once. The gunshots, the rooftop, the bathroom call, the Russian mob, the revelation that I had been hunted for months, the fact that a mafia boss, Dante Russo, killed and kidnapped and bled and fought to keep me alive. My legs buckled. I sank onto the couch, my vision blurred, Dante was beside me before I even blinked. Not touching me, not crowding me, just there, still, present, grounding. I covered my face with both hands and shook. Not sobbing, not panicking, just releasing. For the first time tonight. For the first time in months. He didn't tell me to stop. He didn't tell me to be strong. He didn't say anything. He just let me be human. When my breathing finally steadied, he spoke, low, careful. "Vicky, look at me." I lowered my hand slowly. Dante's eyes softened, not warm, but rawly, sincere. "You survived something impossible," he said. "You did everything right. And now, you're safe." Something inside me cracked. Not fear, not trauma. Something else. Something that terrified me even more. "Why are you doing all this?" I whispered. "Why risk your men? Why take me from the police? Why protect me at all? I'm not part of your world." He held my gaze. "You didn't choose this war," he said softly. "But you're in it because of me." A beat. "No," I whispered. "I got dragged into this long before you even knew I existed." "Yes," he murmured. "But tonight? Tonight you saved my life, and I protect what saves me." He exhaled, long and quiet. "And because—" He stopped himself, looked away, tensed slightly, then forced the words out. "I care what happens to you." The fire popped. My chest tightened. The room felt smaller, warmer, too still. "Dante," I whispered. He stood suddenly, not harshly, not abruptly, more like a man who realized he'd said too much. "You need rest," he said. "Everything else can wait." I rose too. "Will you be here in the morning?" He looked at me with something I couldn't name. "Yes." Then he walked to the door, pausing with his hand on the frame. He didn't turn around when he said it, but I felt the weight of every word. "Sleep, Vicky. You're safe because of me, and I'm dangerous because of you." The door closed softly, leaving me with the crackling fire, the fading adrenaline, and a truth I couldn't escape. A mafia war wanted me dead. A man like Dante Russo was willing to fight it, and somehow, impossibly, in ways I hadn't meant and he hadn't planned, our lives were now interlocked. For better, for worse, for whatever comes next. If you enjoyed the story, like and subscribe. Tell me where you're watching from. Thank you for watching.